have people at that end of the spectrum. So what happens is, of the current, I was just counting them today, 10 members, different people specialize in different things. Center for Women in Enterprise deal with, and when they originally started, their mission was to help women in business. Okay, SCORE, Senior Corps of Retired Executives, they basically had the expertise of a retired restaurant owner. Sure. And so if people needed to learn about restaurants, they would come on the day that that particular retired executive was there.
Now, I know a couple months ago we had on our radio show Amy Mosier from the from Workforce Central from the Career Center, and I believe she and the Career Center are also a part of the alliance as well.
In our most recent revamped version of the Worcester Business Resource Alliance.
Now, your services here are offered to anyone that comes through. You don't have to be, I know, with the name, sometimes
that's a great
people,
question, and it's one of the things that I say, shame on the community or society for not understanding that Dr. King stood for the civil rights of all people.
Correct.
And that many of the civil rights changes that have taken place for women, for people with different sexual preferences, came out of using the techniques
and the language and much of the,
and everything that Dr. King used back in the day, which he got from other philosophers like Mahatma Gandhi. But that whole peaceful revolution and getting equality is for everybody. So to answer your question, just wanted to make it specific. Anybody who walks through the door that has an issue that they want to deal with business development and some of the other things we provide, as I'll finish explaining this long answer to you, they in fact get help when they come to the door.
I just think that's important because I do think that unfortunately, I think that might be a kind of common misconception, is that you have to be a person of color to take advantage of the great opportunity that's here. So and I know, of course, that's not true. So I want to make sure we get that out, that word out there to folks.
Definitely, very, very important. Because I've actually had people say, I've driven by here and I didn't know what you did. They just assumed it was a minority community center or something.
Yeah.
And so when they come in, not only are they surprised about the size, but to know that we're here and to understand what it is that we do. But Dr. King would turn over in his grave if he found out that I now was turning away people that didn't look like me. No, you can't come in here, or go to the back door, drink out of a different fountain.
Now we're lucky enough to have you on our Workforce Investment Board.
Yes, sir.
And I know that Workforce Central, as I mentioned, Amy and folks over there. One thing that you had brought forward to us is the importance of helping new business development, and so even though people might be coming to the Career Center that are more traditionally kind of looking to work for someone else, there are a lot of folks that come with that idea, with that dream, and if they just had a bit of support. So it's great to see that linkage between the Career Center and your organization and the others through the WBRA. I also wanted to kind of get into.
Can I finish
Sure.
answering a question
sure.
that was asked? So we talked about business development, and what happens is we talked about incubation, but we also provide a service for career training. So what happens is when a person, or if a person doesn't decide that they want to be an entrepreneur, they in fact can take career courses that we've had approved by the Department of Education, and we have 6 of them at this particular time. Basic computer training, what we call pre-employment training, where you prepare kids to understand what the world of work looks like. Yesterday in one of your meetings, we talked about, they used to call it with some basic skills, but now we want to change that to success skills that people learn.
Sometimes they refer to them as soft skills, and it almost implies that they're not important, whereas they're really the foundation for everything else, right, for that success.
So we offer that career training, and then because we have a relationship with the unions, we have pre-apprenticeship training where we prepare, again, people who hadn't worked in the construction industry about the things they need to know to be successful in an apprenticeship with the unions. We also have a license to teach CNAs, certified nursing assistants, on how to prepare for taking their state exam, passing that, and getting in the entry level of the healthcare, which is where a lot of the growth is, even though there's been some major layoffs. Healthcare, as it relates to us bald head or gray head old guys like myself, we need care as we get older. So CNAs and a lot of the things that are going on, talk about trends, where hospital stays aren't what they used to be when I was a young guy. They don't have people staying in for a month or 2 months. They want to treat you at home. So CNAs, HHAs,
Home health aides.
Yeah, growing really, really fast. So in addition to the business development and incubation, we provide training to people who choose not to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, and you teased us before by saying you might have an exclusive announcement today.
Yes.
So the fourth component that you're adding to the mix. Did you want to bring that
Sure,
bring that out
we'll
now?
talk about it right now. Otherwise, I might forget. What it is we have just secured the certification for something called CDFI, which is Community Development Financial Institution, from the Department of Treasury, which means within about 6 months to a year, we're going to be able to offer not only technical assistance, but for those people who banks won't work with because they don't have the history or the character, the collateral, the actual credit to start or get a loan to start their business. We're going to have our own loan pool and be able to lend money to the people we provide a service to.
I know you've been working hard towards that designation for quite some time, and it is, such a missing piece to the puzzle, especially, nowadays where banks have really tightened their restrictions. Some people would argue, after the crash and everything, with good reason, but at the same time, that's really shut out some folks that could be starting vibrant business, small businesses in the community. And so to have that access to that program through your organization, I think that's going to be a real win for you, obviously, a win for the people, and also for the community. So
and definitely the community, because let me if I can talk to that one and how it fills a couple of gaps. What happens is the average business that starts, they in fact will create 3 jobs. A lot of people start their businesses because they got laid off from the jobs that they were in. Right. So it creates a permanent job for the owner. The owner usually has a salesperson going out to sell the product or service.
And remind me to come back to that point in a second.
And then somebody has to do the administrative piece, because if your customers are not happy.
And plus, there's a lot of answer. You've got someone with the incorporation paperwork and handling, the taxes and the bookkeeping. So all these other services
ripple
that
into other jobs. So by starting a small business, you create on average 3 positions in a company that's growing. If that company now kicks off and is successful, then the numbers increase. Okay.
Now, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but before we get back to the sales aspect that I wanted to talk about, is there a general rule of thumb, or do you know what the average kind of request to start a business is? I know they're all different. Some businesses kind of require much more capital than others, but for some of the small businesses that you see,
for some of the small service business that we see, the amount is $10,000.
Yeah. So we're not talking an astronomical amount.
Not a huge amount, but because the banks, rightly so, have to watch their bottom line. They don't want to lose the money because business is really risky. They don't want to lose the money. Fact of the matter is, if you haven't been in business 2 years with a successful performance, the banks won't even talk to you.
So with this program,
because we get to know the persons, they call it the 5 C's, and one of the C's is character. Then you got cash, you got credit, you got collateral. Okay, so when you take in effect the things that are considered in making a banking decision, a lot of people and a lot of banks don't have the time to get to know people, and they don't understand the piece of character. So if I know you,
Mhm.
I can understand that Jeff just went through a divorce. Not saying that you have.
Well, no,
No, you're going through a divorce. Or we can understand your problems, and based upon us knowing you in the community, we will take a risk that the banks wouldn't and shouldn't take based upon them
Their
having to
portfolio,
protect
yeah.
and the federal guidelines they have to abide by, but they can't.
So it is
take
kind of a
the
chicken
risk.
and egg, though, where the banks want to see performance, and the business startup, the entrepreneur is looking for that funding to start to get the performance.
It is.
So right, so that's
So
why
we help
you're
break that
yeah
that whole dilemma of the chicken and egg.
yeah
So we in fact now will take a risk. And again, I mean, you just can't come in and say, I want to do something. I don't have a business plan. I just need the money, and
Yeah.
we're going to give you the money. That's not going to happen. Okay. What's going to happen is we're going to say these are the things you need to do to
show
have us to show that you're really, really serious about your business and you understand it, and we're willing to take that risk with you.
Yeah.
However, you have to do these things. And we need to see a cash flow. We need to see a performer. We need to see your expertise in this particular business.
Are there a lot of CDFIs in our greater Worcester area?
No, they're not. They're just recently, the organization came to town called RCAP Solutions.
Okay.
They, in fact, are designated CDFI. But other than that, and they just came, they're
But I would
word-of-mouth.
imagine capacity-wise, it's better, obviously, to have more entities. When you're talking
Oh,
about
yeah,
access to
absolutely.
technical assistance and to funding, boy, it sounds
Matter
like
of
the
fact,
more the better, right?
I wish I had the statistic that the SBA gave, that if we were just giving away 2 loans every day for the next 10 years, the number of people who are looking for loans
Would still
would
exceed
still exceed it. Exactly. And one thing I wanted to point out, we talked about filling that or helping with that chicken and egg concept, is also what we do is if we successfully teach these startups or people who are existing in business how to keep their books and how to balance their books and how to show what they don't want to show because they don't want to pay taxes. Sometimes companies are making money, but because of cash business, they'll show that they're not making money on their tax returns, so they don't pay taxes.
Yeah.
We're like, stop that. You got to treat them separately. You got to show you're making a profit, because when you want to go from 10,000 to 100,000, if you can't show the bank that you're profitable,
That you're
not
real,
going to be able
yeah.
to get that loan.
Yep.
So we're now preparing them to graduate to the bigger market,
into the main,
into
yeah.
the bank. So
Yeah.
you're creating employment, you're getting businesses started, you're eliminating the chicken and the egg,
Yeah.
and you're preparing a person.
Boy, it must be really
to get
exciting
to
too
the
to see
other
someone
level.
take their vision from that vision to reality, and to help them, in that must just be so rewarding for you and the others here to kind of see that happen, on a personal level.
It really is, and you hope that the people remember where they got started, and I take for one that I can give you off the top of my head is Acclaim Home Health Care. Actually started here with one employee, the owner.
Yeah.
Okay, and this lady was an immigrant, but lady had a degree in administration and healthcare. Decided she was going to go out on her own, started her business, and now employs over 40 people, okay, and has a business.
And it's interesting that you mentioned her background
Over a
as
million.
as an immigrant, because one of the things that we've looked at is, when you look at the growth of our region population-wise, it's growing because of
immigration.
of new Americans coming here.
Exactly.
So obviously, if you could help them navigate what must seem to be, in many ways a different business culture and business service system, so to navigate that process must be a huge help. You've got some very talented people coming here with
Very
great
talented,
ideas,
yes.
and in many times they've got kind of an insight into a niche market already built in. You mentioned the Vietnamese, women who they may have kind of a built-in market for some of what they're doing. It might be a product or service that that many of their fellow expatriates that are here would appreciate or enjoy that they're not able to get from, kind of traditional
People like us.
Yeah, exactly. So I did want to come back to something else you had mentioned about new businesses start, when they first hire, they often need sales help, and I know that's another area that you've brought forth to the board and to the career center around this idea of if we can do more with sales training for young people and for job seekers in general. That's something they can use to sell themselves, to sell other people's products. It's kind of a universal skill, if you will, that cuts across that. Did you want to speak, some
I
about
do,
that?
right? And I'm glad you're giving me the opportunity, because that's one I haven't been able to package well enough to convince you good people to put some energies in it. But and I guess it comes from my past experience in sales and marketing, that whatever product that you have or service that you have, something has to be sold to generate income. And once it's sold, somebody needs to take care of the customer service representative, to keep them happy. Because if you think about the sales cycle, that 65% statistically of the next year's business is going to come from your existing sales or existing customers. So sales is something that must take place. We're always selling, whether we know it or not.
Right.
And if a person could learn the skill sets of working with people and convincing those, not convincing, that's the old school saying, but consulting with people to find out what their needs are and satisfy their needs with your product or service, that's needed.
Yeah, and on two levels, though, too. I mean, when you think about someone going through a job search process, they're actually selling themselves and helping them see how they can add value to a potential employer. To sell that aspect of it would make them, that much more, employable or to show to the potential employer, like, hey, I
have value.
Exactly.
And we talked about, I think it was yesterday, that even if a person, changing the subject slightly, but it's like when you get skills that are transferable and broadly transferable, that if a person took an entrepreneurial class, that person would understand what it was to run a business. So again, when that person is interviewing from a job, he can understand or she can understand what it is that employer is expecting and approach that interview from that perspective. Matter of fact, one of the courses that we teach in our pre-employment training is employer expectation. And so what we do is we said, okay, what do you expect as an employee from your employer? Then they'll be, we want respect, we want good pay, we want this, we want that. He said, okay, now that the employer gives you a paycheck, now that he gives you respect, what are you going to give him? What do you think that employer wants? What do you think he or she wants? Well, they want you to be on time. They want you to show up.
Yeah.
They want you to be a critical thinker. They want you to be able to, be a
add
team
value
member.
to their operation,
their organization. And they're sitting there like, wow, I was just thinking about what I wanted. Well, you can't. You need to think about what the employer wants. And the one I really like is we give them an example of a problem. We say that you don't drink, you don't smoke, but somebody, it's their birthday, and you have an appointment at 7:30 tonight, but the function starts at 5:30. Do you go? And a lot of people, no, I'm not going. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I'm not going. And we say, wrong answer. You go. You let them know that you have an appointment at 7:30, so you won't hang out all night. And you can order a Coke with ice, and they'll think it's a rum and Coke. And you just sit there and you communicate with the people for an hour, and then you leave. And you go to your previous engagement. That's what you do when you want to be a part of the team and climb the corporate ladder.
Yeah.
You got to get away from your individual attitude and saying what you will and won't do, and be a part of a team.